Well, folks, I was out here bullshitting with a customer that walked up and had to get this loader moved and sweep all these zip ties and crap up. I'm looking down at that from the 9620 when it was sitting here. But I was sitting here bullshitting with a customer talking about his rig, and I just happened to look down here at this loader, and this loader came in with a bunch of leaks that I got to fix. But look at that. Look at that hole where the keeper goes. All beat out of it. That one's broke. I look at here. This one's gone. Look at the hole here. This one's gone. This one's walking out. I mean, this is a wreck waiting to happen right here. A huge wreck waiting to happen. Here's another one. That's about the only one that's left in the son of a gun. How about this one up on top? Is it up there? It's in. This one here's, it's still in there. Yeah, we got to fix that. You cannot let that go out of here like that. I mean, that's just a wreck waiting to happen. You're gonna hurt somebody. And the bucket, man, I don't know what they want to do. The bucket's got daylight showing through it. It's got holes in it because it's worn clear through. This needs to be cut out and replated. The cutting edge is worn clear off the bucket and getting into the bucket now. I mean, it's in pretty tough condition, this old girl here is. He's not going to like what I'm going to tell him, but I'm thinking he better rent a loader for a while, because this one's going to be here a while. I mean, you got to fix this stuff, man. Anyway, I got so many stories to tell you, but anyway, a lot of my videos that I make out, you guys see a small portion of what I do, you know. So today's video is going to be about Don's engine. I got all the parts for it. I got to put it back together. I'm going to try to, actually what I'm going to do first, trying to think of all the shit that I need to do here. The DT466, the wife is going to run over to, well, I got to get the crank out of it. I got the head stripped. I got the head stripped down. It's ready to go to Diesel Cast West of Portland. I got to flip the block over, pull the crank out of it, and I'll bolt a couple main caps back on it just in case they need to bolt it down, and because they're gonna send this thing off and have this one hole sleeved where the liner seats up. And then I got to take all the rods, and I'm gonna send the rods with them too, and they can put small end bushings, you know, in the rods. And then we're kind of in a hurry for this. Of course, you know, this guy here, it's not his fault really. You know, it's an old engine. But sometimes it's like, golly, you know, right before haying, you have this thing. Well, he didn't know. I mean, what happened was he went to fired up the spring just to check his haying equipment out. He was just kind of going through it all and checking it all over, and this is when he noticed that the pan was full of water. So he didn't know. It sat there. What it did is it finally leaked bad enough, that electrolysis or cavitation there finally leaked bad enough to where it filled the pan when it sat there all winter. Anyway, so that's that deal there. I'm trying to think what I'm going to do next. Should I come over here and flip this block over and just get that done? I think I will, but then I'll start videoing on the John Deere. So anyways, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this morning, or actually yesterday and this morning. So anyway, so I did the Volvo road grader. You guys saw the video on that. So the John Deere 750, okay? Those have closed loop hydrostatic transmissions on those. There's a transmission for each track, for the left and the right. The older 750s and the 750Bs and 850Bs, and they were set up kind of almost the same. What they did is they had a charge pump that was on each transmission. So the charge system fed each hydrostatic closed loop system. They even had their own suction lines coming off the charge pump going to the tank in separate ports on the tank. The left charge pump is different from the right charge pump, though. The left charge pump also feeds, it's a different pump. They're not identical pumps. I think there's a I think it might be 2 sections on the left one. But the left charge pump feeds the control valve on the actual control valve that sends all the oil to the displacement control valves. The displacement control valves actually are what sends oil to the servo pistons, which moves the swash plate to upstroke or destroke the variable displacement hydraulic pump on each transmission. So I went down there yesterday, and the first thing I always do with those John Deeres, on those older ones like that, there's swash plate indicators on the pumps, and you can see them through each side of the, look right above the track frame, and you'll see a little hole there, and you can, if you clean all, usually they're greasy or hell, and you got to clean them all off. So I noticed that we could start the machine up, and we put the blade up against the stump and just stalled the pump, and the swash plate indicator angles, they stayed at 0 the entire time. And I told, the owner, and there was a kid there helping us named Josh, and he's a really nice guy. And anyway, he was good help. He had him helping me yesterday. He's good help too. And the swash plate angle would never change. I mean, they stayed 0. And I told him, I said, we've got a control problem. We got either a loss of charge pressure to where we're not sending oil back to the servo pistons to change the swash plate angle. So anyways, I didn't have a number 4 O-ring Bosch fitting to go into each end of the back on the back of the hydrostatic pumps, and I think it's, I don't remember, I think it's the displacement control valve is where the actual ports are. You pull a plug out on each one, you test them individually. So I had, now the gauge in the cab there has a gauge for charge pressure on those John Deeres, and you'll have a neutral, so you've got neutral charge pressure, so when the range lever is not either in reverse or forward, or it's in neutral, your charge pressure is fine. And then there's an operating charge pressure. Well, my neutral charge pressure was in spec. There was no problems with that. As soon as I'd go to operating charge, just bail, I mean, all I really had to do was just slightly move that range lever into forward or reverse, and it just go, and then if you really put a load on it, it'd start going clear to 0 and bouncing. So here's where I'm at with that. Hopefully some professional hydraulic guy can chime in. So here's the deal. So charge pressure, I tested both of them, and they were both doing the identical thing. I was kind of hoping that I was going to isolate either a left problem or a right problem, since they're 2 separate transmissions with 2 separate charge pumps. Here's my gut feeling of what's going on. It's an older dozer with a lot of hours. I'm thinking that either one or maybe even both hydrostatic closed loop pumps are bad. What I'm thinking is happening is there's so much internal wear with the rotating group either on the motor or the actual pump that what it's doing is that the charge pumps can't keep up with the makeup oil to keep the supplied oil, because there's so much internal leakage in the high pressure closed loop part of the system. That's my thought right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going back down there tomorrow, and I'm going to do some more testing. I didn't have a vacuum gauge for a hydraulic system, so what I did is my wife's picking one up today from the hydraulic shop. So there's a port on each charge pump too that you can stick and what you're doing there is you're checking for an inlet restriction, which I don't think there is, because I pulled the plug out of that port by the charge pump, which is going to have suction oil coming into it from the tank. And I mean, there was a massive amount of oil coming out of that little plug hole. I had to stick my thumb over it while I looked at see what kind of fitting the plug was. So anyhow, I stuck the plug back in it, and I know what I need, but I'm trying to, cross every T and try to isolate the problem. So I know that once I put that on there, if I got anything more than 10 inches under, you're supposed to go to basically rated RPM, wide open, high idle, and then at high idle, you're supposed to just check and look at your vacuum on your gauge there, and on each charge pump, and it's not supposed to exceed 10 inches mercury vacuum. So if you've got a high vacuum, like if you got 15, 20 inches, and you've got something, you know, which I'm finding it really hard to believe, there's those have two separate lines coming off two different ends of the tank. I really find the oil's nice and clean, the filters have been changed, so, you know, you can run it a while, and you can see the oil getting aerated, like the pump's cavitating, you know. So I'm really thinking that we've got something in our closed loop system that's leaking, and you never know with that old of a dozer, both the left and right might be so bad that it just can't go anymore, you know. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, and I'd really appreciate to hear a little feedback from some really expert hydraulic guys. I think I'm okay with, I used to be pretty good on the closed loop hydrostatic steering and stuff like that. I used to deal with those a lot on the Challengers. It's a similar setup. The difference between this one and the Challengers, if I remember right, the Challengers, see, they had a fixed displacement motor. What I'm talking about there is the swash plate was fixed displacement. It had its own angle, and that's all it did. But the pump was variable displacement. On these dozers, the motor and the pump are variable displacement. The swash plate angles will change in both. So, you know, I don't know. Anybody has any ideas of something else to check that I'm like missing here? Because I don't know, this is kind of, the only thing I'm confused about is what I'm not understanding. Well, I was talking to Jim about it. So if one pump cavitates enough to basically froth the oil and aerate the system, I think that would take both sides down. I was really expecting to see one side have higher charge pressure than the other, since there's two separate charge pumps, but they're feeding off the same tank. So if the oil gets aerated, I think it's going to affect both. So I think it's a good point of discussion. We can get some feedback from some of the viewers. Probably I know there's quite a few heavy equipment guys that are pretty knowledgeable that watch this channel. So I'd be curious to know what you think about it, and give me a pointer or something else to check. I don't want to go out there and spend all that time and money and waste that guy's time pulling the hydrostatic transmissions out of that thing and tear them all apart, and you don't see nothing wrong. You know, maybe one of the charge pumps is, you know, they're just gear pumps. Maybe and I noticed too, they're aluminum housing pumps. That really really concerns me when I see aluminum housing pumps. Usually what happens where the gears go into the end cap, the bushings wear out, and then the gears get into the housing, and it just wears them out. There's nothing better than a good old cast iron pump, you know. But anyway, and then this morning I went to a 6125M John Deere that had a bunch of, you know, the filters plugged up in it, you know. And I've never seen one that bad in my life. It had almost 6.08 psi differential pressure. That's how plugged up that filter was. So I cleared the after treatment latch codes with my Texa scan tool, and it would start the regen after I cleared them, because you got to do that on a John Deere. You got to clear the after treatment latch codes, or you'll never get the John Deere or you'll never get the regen to actually activate. So every time I did that, I'd clear and I'd start the regen process. It would come up to RPMs like 1800, and then it'd run for like 20 seconds, and then it'd kick it off. Then it'd say regen failed. What the hell, you know? I was getting pissed off. You know, I had other stuff to do. I'm sitting there messing with that emissions pile of shit thing. And so anyways, I finally went into the ECU with my Texa tool, and I've learned how to do this. You got to go in there sometimes, and I've had two of these do this that were really bad like this. It wouldn't let me do the regen, and I go in to replace DPF or was clean, and you can put in there as an option, was replaced with this part number or cleaned, and I just put cleaned, and then I think it resets the ash accumulators, and then it did the regen, and then it sat there for 3 hours, and then it kept saying on the Texa unit, usually it'll say normal regeneration. Well, it said deep clean. That means it's really, really plugged up. So anyways, I got that one done. And then I went to a New Holland 8770 that had a bad hydraulic leak. And I'll have to go out to my truck and show you that thing. But it was just spraying oil everywhere, all over the back of the tractor. And I gotta put this junky core engine together, and but I went out to that New Holland, and I had to I was by myself. I didn't have anybody to get in the cab and run the remotes. He said it was on the back end, so I was, pretty much guessing it was a remote problem. So I had to think of a little ingenuity I rigged up a rope to the lever where I could stand out, open the back window, stand outside the cab and pull on the lever so I could see where in the hell the oil was coming from. What did I do with it? I think I threw it in my toolbox. No, it's not in that drawer. What drawer did you stick it in, Warren? In this one? And this one drawer is a bastard to get open. Always is. Anyways, here's that remote end cap for the spool. I don't know if you can see that there on this side right here. You can't really see it, but it's cracked. It's got a hairline crack all the way back, well, pretty much where the paint's gone. That's where the oil was coming from, so it cracked. That's kind of odd, isn't it? But you can see right here, I didn't do that. See that right there? It's like they accidentally hit it with something. I'm wondering if that's what caused that. I've never seen one of those crack like that before. So anyways, I got one of those ordered. It's supposed to be in tomorrow. I was keeping that one just in case, But once it shows up, I'll toss that one in the scrap pile. So anyways, I guess I'll get on with what we should be doing is I'm going to go pull the crank out of that block right quick and get the rods separated from the pistons and get all that stuff gathered up so Monday morning my wife can haul that up to Portland and drop that off. And then, what's the next thing on the itinerary? Yeah, I'll go over there. I got all Don's parts here. I got into a damn tree stump in the woods yesterday and I got it straightened out. But I turned too tight, and there was a stump right by that cat, and a stump hit the step and bent my damn step, and I was so pissed off. Here's old Don's parts here. Got lots of parts for Don. Lots of parts, Don. I hope you're watching. We're going to start putting your engine back together. I got all his PTO clutch parts for his 9300. There's some gaskets. Hopefully the big gasket's still in there from that. Yeah, here's all the gaskets for the front cover, all the other stuff. Okay. Alrighty. Upwards and onwards. Man, it is flat getting after it now. Thank you, God. We need every bit of it. I was over on I got the crank out of that DT466, and I had the customer called. Air conditioner wasn't working on his hay squeeze. Went over there and was working on it, and the condenser fans are up on top. They're electric, at the top of the cab. I was over there, and I had a phone. I had to call a customer over in Medford, Josh. I was talking to him on the phone, and I pulled over on the shoulder on this county road. And I was talking on the phone there, and right in front of me there, I mean, probably 100 yards, there was a transformer set up like that on a pole, and the lightning hit that pole, and the transformer, I wish I'd have had my video camera. That transformer blew up, sparks are flying. I said, I gotta get the hell out of here, man. Yeah, man, it's flat getting after it out there. Wash my truck. Man, pretty good. Anyway, well, it's gonna be kind of hard to hear me. It's beating on this tin roof, but guess we can start putting some stuff together here. Well, it got real bright. There must be a lightning. Here's all the parts that we ripped off of here that we're not going to use. I don't know about the dipstick thing right now because the other dipstick doesn't want to come out of the hole. So let me get a light over here too so we get a little more light. Not right underneath those lights, so it's not working very well. Alright, so we got them dowels out of there. So what you can do is, if you don't have the fancy dowel removal tool, which I need to get one, I understand that, but I just took my air hammer and just lightly, don't pull the trigger all the way back, just put a little bit, just barely squeeze the trigger on it, and then take a pair of vice grips and clamp it onto the, and get between, take your air chisel, and I took a chisel end of it and I put it between the block and the dowel there, and then I put the vice grips out on the outside there, and then I just put tension on it with the vice grips pulling towards me, and just barely pulled this trigger, and they just walked right out of there. So that's a way that you can get dowels out if you can't get them out. So now what you do on a wear sleeve is take you a chisel, and you don't want to beat clear through it and nick the crank. Just hit her in a couple spots like that. Sometimes you got to kind of hit it 2 or 3 spots. And then usually go get a bar or a screwdriver or something of that nature. How about my gasket scraper? And then usually, see, it's moving. And there, it'll come right off the crank. She's kind of being a little bit stubborn right here at the end. There it is. Okay. There's your wear sleeve. As you will notice, there's no marks on the crankshaft. Alright, so I thought I'd show you that right quick. I gotta get the new seal put in the cover and put the wear sleeve on the crank. Alright. Get on there. Why are you going on there crooked? There we go. How we looking here? Looking good, looking tough. Yes, it looks like it is uneven and it's not beat all to hell. Okay, good deal. Alright, is the seal. That seal could be drove in just a touch further, actually. Maybe just a little bit further. That would make me feel more better. And I need to find the bolts for this. Then I got to put the injection pump plate cover on there. Hopefully I got that gasket. Aha! New gasket. Okay, these bolts evenly spaced, or probably not. Nope. I guess I'll just start here. I'll just keep this as my orientation for this. And can I get lucky? Hey! Alright, well, let me find the bolts for this, and then put the key back in the snout of the crank here. Where is my pecker, my hammer? Well, that's the first tool he gets out of his toolbox, is his hammer. All right, that's looking pretty sweet. All right, so we got the front cover, the injection pump plate cover over it. We got the crank damper on, got it pulled onto the crank, and I got to torque it to 150 foot-pounds. So what I've done before on these 466 engines, especially the ones with the crankshaft driven oil pump, is kind of cheated a little bit and stuck a rag up here in the gear to hold it, or you can pick a chain across the end of the crankshaft there and do it that way too. So we're going to be torquing this way counter or clockwise, so that means that gear, I need to go on the other side of the engine. Honolulu. Pull this pan out. I still got to clean it out and get it on there. Tack drive, I gotta put that back on there because I'll just put the plate that was on the other one on there. We don't need the tack because it ain't gonna work. So, oh, oil here on the ground. Oil leaked out of this engine. Wonderful. Go get a clean rag. Didn't think there'd be much oil leaking out of an engine that hasn't been used for years, but it did. You'd think it would all been laying in the bottom of the pan, but come here, sweetheart. You want in the truck? Come on, baby. Get in there and make yourself comfortable. All right, so what am I looking for? A clean rag. I don't want to stick that dirty rag I just wiped the floor with on the nice gear. New shop towel. What's this old driven crank gear right here? What we'll do is, maybe this will work. That's what I did before. I stuck her right up in here like this. Okay, let's see how this works out. Might be winding up taking a chain across the end of the crankshaft there to oh, it spit it out on me. May not work. Yeah, it spit it right out of there again. Wow. Usually that works a little bit better, but I think what I'm doing is I'm thinking wrong. Yeah, I am thinking wrong. It's got to go right here. It's turning the gear the opposite direction than what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's where we need to be. Yeah, I'm all screwed up. 150 pounds. Now we got it wedged. It shouldn't turn. Okay, so the crankshaft damper bolt is torqued to 150 foot-pounds. Oh, but we need to go the other way to get our rag out. I'll show you what I did back here just for reference. I was thinking the wrong way there. Let's see, the gear just take a clean rag and just stick it up in there like that. And once the tolerances are so tight, you're not going to hurt anything, and you can get your gear torque down then. So we'll go the other way and get the rag out of there. And sitting there, didn't sleep very well last night. Was sitting there thinking all damn night about this John Deere 750 dozer. I love a challenge. I love trying to figure things out. And the rag's out of there, and that's all torqued down. So I was gonna do a video last night, and to be completely honest with you, I spent most of the night reading the service manual on that 750 on theory of operation, things like that. Don, you got a problem right here. This is the charge air cooler, or not the charge air cooler, what am I thinking? This is the air fuel ratio line going to the injection pump from the intake manifold that came off the 30 series. I put it on this one, and then I noticed this. You have a hole in that. That has to be fixed, or it will not run right. Your air fuel ratio for your injection pump will not work correctly. So that line is so small, I don't think I can get away with brazing that, because what'll happen, you'll try to braze that line up, and then you'll fill the line full of brazing material there and plug it up. So I'm probably just gonna have to get a new line for it, or I don't really want to. I was gonna say I could cut it and put a little hose. That would be kind of chicken shit. I'll order a line for it. See if I can get that maybe early next week, because I'm gonna put. I can change that. I'm gonna pull this plate off the end of the head, since I had all these bolts out of here and disturbed this seal. I got a new gasket for it. I want to change them. I got a new rear seal for it, new gasket for this, but I thought, before I do that, I might ought to I'm gonna get this with this, oh, I don't know what you call it there, this abrasive flapper wheel on the grinder here, and clean all this paint off to see. They must have painted this or something. I don't understand that. I mean, this is a little bit different color paint here on it, but a little bit different shade of green. Somebody put some non-John Deere green on it, but probably went to Napa and got some John Deere green or something. It didn't quite match up. But anyway, this is a sealing surface here because the tractor's got a wet clutch in it. That's why we got to use the starter off that other one. There'll be a wet starter and a dry starter. You don't want to put a dry starter on a wet system, because you'll definitely know about it, because oil will start coming out your solenoid and everything else on that starter. So I still got to get that starter off that other one and put on this one. But we got to clean up this surface here, and I don't want to do it while I got this off and get paint chips and all that crap down there on my crankshaft and back in the crank and all that stuff. So let's do it now while we still got the old seal and stuff on there, and then we'll pull it off. Just kind of curious how far I need to go up on it. Do I need to go? I don't remember how that gasket. I think it goes all the way up. I got a brand new gasket right here. We'll just kind of open her up and see what we got. To put her back in the box and take her with us. So let's see. Wait a second. Might have a problem here. Did they change something between the 50 and the, because them holes there don't look big enough to me. These are 3/4 inch holes up here. Those look like 5/8 holes to me. Or am I looking at it wrong? Let's go look at that other block that's sitting out here. Yeah, it's different, isn't it? No, it is different. It is a different... Uh-oh. Don, you got a problem here, buddy. Wait a second, we got a problem here. A pretty big problem. And I don't know if we can overcome this. Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, wait a second. That's the wrong gasket. That's not what I don't think that's right at all. Oh, that's... I'm gonna have to take it out of the box. I know what's going on. Okay, I get it now. I'm looking at it all upside down. I'm about half dyslexic most of the time anyway. So, these two holes don't even exist on that other block. I gotta get this gasket. I just gotta make sure this thing's all gonna line up. I gotta drive a long ways to go put all this back together. I wanna make sure that my ducks in a row. I gotta save this, kind of save this box here so I can put it back in it so I don't kink it all up. But this is actually gonna go up against the pan right here. And it'll go in here just like this. Or do I have it backwards? Yeah, just like that. I think it'll go either way. Actually, it's symmetrical or whatever you want to say there. It'll go either or bidirectional, like most of our people are now. Anyway, it'll go there. It'll go either way. So no problem there. I mean, I don't know, this block, that 30 series block doesn't have these two holes up here. They don't even exist on that. I don't remember seeing those. I gotta go look at it again now, but that gasket will work. Okay. Doesn't take much to confuse me. Yeah, the flat part surface of this doesn't even come up that high here, where there's no machined holes in it. This plug, we need this plug out of here, or we will have a pretty substantial leak, so we gotta get that out of there. Gotta get that blow-by tube off there too. I think that blow-by tube off, put it on that one, go in there. That's another thing we gotta change over. This really isn't that bad of a changeover, really. Most of the stuff's bolting up. The mounts are the only problem, which you can see I started on it. I measured it out. I've got enough room here. So the two back holes, so all 4 mounting holes on the 30 series block were 5/8 coarse threaded bolts. The 50 series block, the 2 back holes on the front mount are 5/8. The 2 front holes are 3/4 inch coarse threaded. But the problem is the spread's different, so they're spread out further. So I thought, do I drill a hole? And I don't know. You know, I don't think it's... I don't know what to do here, really. I don't know if I should drill a hole. I just was kind of playing around here with a bit to see how hard that cast was to drill through. I don't know whether I should drill a hole in this or drill a hole in this. I thought it would be easier since you already had a template here already that you bolt this to the side of this, which I did, and I marked my hole. What I did is I took a 5/8 drill bit that fit tight in the hole here, and then I just kind of centered it up in there, and that got me my spacing here. So I have enough room to drill a 5/8 hole here and just leave the 5/8 hole here, drill this one out to 3/4 inch and leave a 5/8 hole in there because you don't want to make this one any bigger than you have to and get closer to this hole. And it doesn't matter what you do on this. I mean, you're either gonna, you can either drill this out and be close to this hole, or you can drill this one out and be close to this hole. So take your pick. Which one do you want to do? And I don't know for sure. I'd have to look at a 50 series tractor, like an 8450. Maybe that's a different idea. Does a 50 series John Deere use 5/8 holes down here? Are they using 3/4 inch holes, or did they change axles? And then these holes don't even line up. I don't know that. So I might go into the parts thing right quick and just look. It'd be pretty simple and easy if they left these holes 5/8 and the dimensions were the same on them. But the only thing they changed was this. And then you could still bolt this to your axle and just order the 8450 mount and then just bolt it right on there. So maybe I ought to look at that, and maybe we could find that. But knowing my luck, they probably changed something and it's completely different. I know where there's an 8640 sitting right now. I might go look at that 8640 because I bet the 8640 is going to be more like this. So what we could do is, before we even drive over there, we could look in the parts book and see if the 8640 mount, but I think the 8640 had the bigger engine. It didn't have the 466 engine in it. I don't know, I gotta look. That's another problem I gotta figure out. I'm on JD's Parts website. So looky here. So here's the mounts. So let's just leave this alone and not drill any holes. We'll call farmland or some of these salvage yards and see if they've got these mounts for an 8450, because that's what we need. It sure looks like to me the dimensions here are the same. I wonder, because look, so number 7 is the back 2 holes. Those should be 5/8 bolts. 5/8 by 2 1/4 inches long. Okay, 4 of them, which would be for both mounts. Then you go into number 3 should be 3/4 inch bolts. Number 3, and there should be 4 of those. Cap screw 3/4 inch by 2 1/4. 4 of those. Okay, and then number 4. There should be 8 of them, and those should be 5/8. Oh, wait a second, they're changed. They're something. Number 4 and number 8. Those should be 5/8 bolts. Cap screw 5/8 by 2 3/4. 4 of those, and number 8. Cap screw 5/8 by 2 1/4. So the back 2 are a 1/2 inch shorter. Okay. I got an idea. Go over to 8430. Oops. And see if those back 2 holes are 2 1/4 on that one. Well, which is, you can shim them out with washers, just not that critical. Okay, there's a lot of 8430s on here. 8430 tractor. Ford, New Holland? What the hell are you talking about? There we go. That's making a little more sense. So obviously it's going to be this one, 1974 to 1981. And then you can go back down to front axles. I wonder if the front axle numbers are the same. That's a really easy way to... I mean, we can still go into engine front supports and then look. So number 4 and number 8 are the questionable bolts. Number 4... And anyways, I'll finish off what I was... My SD card got full on the... So basically what I did, I looked up the front axle support for an 8430 and an 8450, and they have the same part number. So that tells me the bottom part of that mount will... The only thing they changed is the block. is they changed this. So we're not going to mess around with this anymore. We're going to leave the block alone. What we're going to do, that tells me that this here is the same, because the support that this bolts to is the same on both tractors. The only thing different is the block and this part of the mount. So the mount and the blocks are different, but this part down here will mount up. So we need 8450 mounts. So I'm going to call Don and give him the part number, see if he can get a hold of a salvage yard or two and get some coming. And that'll make life a lot easier. Then we don't have to, we don't have to drill into our block. I hate doing that. I don't want to do that. It's just a lot easier. Come on, baby. I don't have anything. I got an idea. Let's go like this, put the bolt in there, and then I can put the bar, the heel part of the bar up against it. Something to pry against. Yeah. Gasket on there. See how big the holes are for these? How much play there is in them? So what I do on these is don't tighten them all the way up. And just kind of snug them and then back them off just a little bit. Why is that one going hard? Right. We'll just back that one off a little bit. Now, let me just back these off just a touch. All right, so this will move now, okay? So let me get my seal installer. This is a JDG. I've got quite a few of these John Deere ones. This is a JDG 477. That's what this one is. Okay, my bolts are, I'm gonna have to go look for the Allen head bolts that go in it because they're not in here for some reason. It must be in the toolbox, I hope. That'll go on there. There's dowel holes, so you can, that's gonna be the dowel hole right there, and that'll go on to there, which really isn't working out because the holes aren't lining up. So we'll go to this one here. Now the holes line up. Okay, let me go find the bolts that go in that. Seal installer. Let me get a 3/4 inch. Well, you don't have to go very tight with these. Just snug them up. And just use these pliers here. You just want this inner part of the seal installer to stay up against the crankshaft. Okay, so this new seal's got a wear sleeve on it. You want to slide that over that like so. And then this, you're going to have to put the cutout parts of this to where they don't hit the bolts. So when this comes down, because this is going to come up flush against this part of the seal installer, go like that. And I need a little bit of lubrication for my threads. She goes on nice and smooth like. That bottoms out against that. And then you're done. And the whole purpose of leaving these loose, because the holes, if you cinch them down, then it doesn't really center itself when you push the seal back in. So you kind of leave those loose because the holes are not real true on them. And then you go back in here and torque these down now. Oh, come on. As you can see though, the seal is right where it needs to be. Everything looks good. I'm gonna torque these down. Gotta get that. I've got a paperback manual. No, actually I'm using a 4440 service manual for this. Same block. Anyway, I'm gonna get that open up, find out what page and what torque spec that is. It's a 5/16 bolt, so it's probably like 25 foot-pounds or 20 foot-pounds, somewhere in that realm. So then now what we can do is put the clutch back in it. I'm trying to just get a lot of these little things changed over. So this nipple here, they just had this one had an actual fitting that screwed on here, a tube, whereas the other one just had a hose going right here to the water pump. So that's the one we need. Yeah, there's a whole lot of little stuff like this on this project here. Just time consuming. Especially when you got to drive 3 hours to go put the engine in. You want to make damn sure you got everything done. Because I can't haul both engines in the back of that truck, or I'll be overloaded when I go through the scale. So, what do I do with the ratchet? It's over here. This and push down on it would be okay. That would have been a heater hose, but this will be good like this right here. How come I'm missing a hose clamp? That is no good. And then this one here, I pulled this one off too. I gotta find the hose clamp. I thought it was on that already, but all right, looks factory. Need some lubrication for that. Where is the lubrication at? Should have been a bottle of WD-40 laying here somewhere. Good old stainless steel hose clamp. John Deere, like selling all their new stuff, they went cheap and put all them aluminum hose clamps, and man, those things are horrible. They strip out constantly. You can reuse these clamps 20 times, you know, if you just, little common sense, you know, just make sure you get a little lube on them so they're not dry, and they'll work every time. Newer is not always better. Alright. I believe I already lubed this one up when I pulled it off, yeah. Alright, trying to go over this to see what other things we might need. So the charge air, or the air-fuel ratio line, I've got a different idea on that. I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to put a hose from there to here. That's what I'm going to do. I don't really see a lot of sense in buying a line. I'll put a clamp on it or something there, and I'll make it work. Okay, so got that water tube debacle figured out. I kind of think where we're at now is lifting it up. And oh, blow by tube. I wanted to get that blow by tube in there. Yeah, let's do that. I'm ready to, hang on a minute. I gotta wipe this off. That's better. Getting ready to put the clutch in it, but I completely forgot, got sidetracked and forgot that I was going to check these clutch discs, because you definitely don't want to do all this work and not do this. See, it's see how the material is over here on this side of it. See how the nice ridges on the pattern here. Look at this side. It's almost down to the friction, you know, to the metal. So we're gonna have to get clutch discs for it now. One of these old tractors you can find. It's one of them deals where you just, where do you stop finding problems on them? This one's delaminating here. The material's coming off of it. See it? This one actually doesn't look too bad, but it's starting to delaminate a little bit itself and come apart. Yeah, and this one's totally screwed up. Yeah, look at all the material that's going on this one here. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but yeah, and there's a big chunk of it gone here. Okay, well, I mean, there's 4 of those. All the steels are fine. I gotta get 4 clutch discs for it. Alright, good times. So I guess I'll lift it up and I can go ahead and I gotta get my pan cleaned up. I can get the pan on it, and I can get the flywheel on it. And then all I'll really be waiting on is I'm gonna call Don and tell him to call Farmland, and I'll give him the part number for these mounts and get these mounts coming. I bet Farmland's got, or Ness, their tractor, or somebody over there's got an 8450 they can rob these off of, 4s. And I'd hate to buy those new, even if there may not be any availability on them, I don't know. But basically, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do next. I gotta get her up and get my jack stands out of the way. Put the pan on it. Oh, I gotta put that one main cap back on there. I had a rod cap off too. I checked the rod cap too, and they all looked fine. Well, I just checked one. It looked really good. I checked one main cap. They look good, so I'm pretty certain the rest of them should be fine. They look new, really, so I'm really confident that this is a fairly, because somebody said major overhaul 7 of 09, and then apparently it didn't run longer after that. I don't know if the combine that they put it in caught on fire. I don't know what the story is with it. Filters still say 7-909, so I put the ether injector on here too off the 30 series block. So, guys always say that the 50 series engine started better. I don't know. I've got 2 customers with, one's got a 4850. What's the other one? And I got a customer with a 4450, and neither one of them start for hill of beans. I mean, you got to ether them every time, and I don't know, maybe they're just worn out. Well, me and Lulu are going to put our tools up and head out. I can't get the old dipstick, the short one, that's for a tractor, out of the hole. I don't know if the dipstick tube. I might have to order a dipstick tube. I gotta order this thing will run. The only thing I forgot to get was a starter. I gotta get a gasket for the starter. So I'll call Monday and get a gasket for the starter. I'm gonna see if we can get these mounts through Farmland or Nissa Tractor or somebody like that. Get them a little cheaper. What else was we gonna order? I don't even remember. Oh, clutch disc. I have to write all this stuff down or I'm gonna forget. I know I will. But pan's on. All the 95% probably of the other stuff that we had to swap over, this air fuel ratio line, I don't know. I might just order one of those too if we can still get it, and just put a new one on it. I mean, you went through this much trouble to do all this work, you might as well make it right. Other than that, I think she's pretty well good to go. When we get back, we'll stick it in, and hopefully Don can find them mounts at Farmland or Nissa. If not, I'll call around and look for them too. But I've got the part numbers wrote down. So quite a bit of work. I mean, I think he's kind of kicked himself in the butt. He could have, by the time he did what he did here, he could have pulled the other engine out, because it's kind of hard to, you can kind of in-frame these 30 series and 8450s. You can kind of do it, but you got to pull the front axle and the axle support out of the frame rail and then prop the frame up, because you can't get the pan off with the axle and axle support in the tractor. So they're just kind of a pain in the butt to work on. But, I mean, you could have done it that way. That's why a lot of guys, the engines will blow up on those tractors or start getting blow by, and they'll park them because they don't want to go through the expense of pulling the front axle out from underneath it or pulling the engine out to rebuild them. So they just say the hell with it and they park them. So there's a lot of these tractors around here. There's an 8640 sitting right down the road that seized up, and they said that's where it's going to set, and that's where it's set for the last 5 or 6 years. So, and it was kind of screwed up anyway. I looked at it, and it had, when they called me event first, I mean, before it seized up, it had a lot of blow by, and it was kind of knocking a little bit, and there was like 2 gears missing in the transmission, and yeah, she's pretty well toast. Anyhow, we're going to set this back up on the stands and pick all our tools up, and tomorrow's Sunday, and I don't give a shit who needs what. I'm tired, I'm worn out, and I'm taking a day off. If they don't like it, call somebody else.